everyone, this is a video to tell you all about what an educational manager does at Genius Premium Tuition. This is Bronwyn and Sharia, who are both education managers at Genius, and we're just going to chat about what we do. Do you want to introduce yourself?
So I'm Bronwyn. I actually did my BA Law, English and Psychology, and then did my honours in psychology and actually went into education after that. So I did my postgraduate certificate in education, and yeah, I actually started tutoring at Genius at the same time and ended up finding my way here.
I'm Sharia. I did my BSc in physiology, genetics and psychology, so I have a little bit of a science background, did my honours in psychology as well, and have, I would say, definitely over 1,000 hours of tutoring as well. I've joined Genius and I've loved it every step of the way.
Cool, I'm Shannon and I originally studied English literature. I worked in that field for a little bit but wanted to get into the education space and then taught a little bit, but now I'm in my honours year of my psychology degree and I've been working at Genius for a while now. I started as a tutor and then moved into the EM space, and just as Sharia said, just loving it ever since.
So Shannon, how would you describe Genius Premium Tuition?
I think Genius is quite a holistic company where it focuses on growth, not only students' growth but also its employees' growth. We're very different from a tutoring agency. We're a company, we have on-staff employees, the tutors, and we really, we have a very different approach when it comes to tutoring. So the students who is interested in our services would come in with their family for an assessment. This is where we'd get to know them, find out all about them, likes, dislikes, interests, study habits, etc. And we'll also create a report as well as do diagnostics on mock tests that they write for us.
Yeah, it's quite an intensive process in general. We often say the assessment's a bit like an interrogation interview, but the students love it, and the parents will often say to us like, wow, I didn't know this about my child. So only after coming through the assessment, I think, do parents really see, okay, this process is a little bit different. We're much more focused on getting to know the learner as an individual, as opposed to, okay, let's just look at the marks and the general struggles.
Yeah. And what's awesome about the assessment is we not only learn about the students' goals and what we are aiming towards or striving for, but we're able to get to know them a little bit so that we can match them personality-wise to a tutor on our team who really will click with them and inspire growth.
It's also a long-term solution at the end of the day. You know, it's a very hands-on approach. Us as education managers really involved in the process and get very invested in them, basically become part of the family as well. We often have parents just inviting us over for coffee or anything like that, so that, you know, we're part of the discussions, we're part of the future planning, we're part of the negotiations and everything that happens around each of the students.
So it doesn't stop at the assessment process. An education manager will continue with the students and track their progress, have continual meetings with them, and provide support not only for the academic side, but the emotional, social, psychological, all of the aspects of their life that they're enjoying, but also maybe struggling with.
I think that is one of my favorite parts about Genius, that I want to say there are no limits almost. You're stepping in as an academic coach and as a role model and mentor, but in the process we end up discovering so much more to work with and so much more to help the student with and support them in. I mean, whether it's helping them decide on a colour of their matric dance dress, or it's just helping them navigate life, I think. And that's the best part, is you're really forming this bond with the student and with the family. As Shreya said, you tend to form part of that and you get to join them on this journey. and share a lot of your own experiences, I think, of your own schooling career and how you got to where you were.
Yeah. So Genius, it's all about the relationship, and it's also something that I love, fostering the whole process with the family.
Yeah, so it goes without saying, as Shan said, after the assessment process, there's continual meetings with the students, continual meetings with the parents, sometimes together, sometimes separated in various environments. I mean, whether it's at a coffee shop or, as we mentioned, at the student's house or at the assessment centre that we have in Four Ways, we're always having these dynamic meetings.
I think another thing about what we do that leads to such effective strategies as well as growth for us is, especially if you're psychologically inclined, is working with professionals in the educational and psych fields, right?
Yeah, you get to collaborate quite a bit because oftentimes the students that we work with have had appointments and journeys with ed psychs. They've had speech therapists, occupational therapists, special relationships with certain teachers, and it's important to kind of gain an insight from all of them and to really understand, their perspective and how you can then incorporate that into the learning program and the lesson program and the way that each of the tutors are also approaching the student and how everybody, including the parents and the education manager, are approaching the students.
And every family dynamic is quite different. I mean, we're meeting with grandparents, we're meeting with aunts and uncles.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, we are meeting with various stakeholders. I mean, often students will have this one teacher in their lives that plays a pivotal role, and we want to include them in that process. So I think that's the big difference between Genius and, let's say, a tutor agency. It's the fact that it is holistic in the sense that we're also using every kind of resource we can in the student's life and trying to involve everybody in the process.
So as you can hear, I mean, an EM is quite a dynamic person. We wear a lot of hats, but it's also a great opportunity to learn a whole lot of different skills, as well as put a whole lot of the skills that you have learned already in the different facets of your life to good use. Nearly everything that you are good at will be utilized, and you'll be used for it, and you'll be rewarded for it as well. It's such a great space to kind of grow yourself in every single facet of your life, whether that is emotional or obviously academic as well. But in a professional sense, it's kind of like all of a sudden you have this opportunity to tap into so much, and there's so much opportunity for that.
And you can explore your weaknesses and work on them, which is so great. I mean, I've even found I was so nervous about studying while working in this position, and I've just found that you can do it. I've recognized my capabilities and how much it's actually contributed to my work ethic here, but not only here, but also at a university level. Yeah.
And I think it's funny in terms of bringing in your background experience. I mean, I did the education, I did the psychology, and I don't think I necessarily thought that I would find a role so readily without having a master's that naturally combines both spheres. So as Shreya said, it's amazing coming into a space where I'm getting to use my educational knowledge, I'm getting to use my psychology knowledge, and more than that, I'm learning from other EMs here who've either studied something else or who have studied psychology, and they're teaching me about how we can apply these different methods and things to different students. So yeah, I think it's so learning orientated here. I don't think I can say I've left a day of work having not learned something new.
Yeah, and I think especially, like you say, coming from different spheres of interest, like for you, when we design lesson plans, it is such a natural thing, and you can help us do that,
Yeah, and more so you get to engage with the students so much, and you have the opportunity to really reward them for working really hard. And for example, I would take my student he loves Formula One, he's really into that, and we took the whole tutor team to go and do go-karting, and he loved it. It was a great reward after his exam, and we get to do that all the time.
Yeah.
And I think sharing each other's successes. You know, often if we have a student who's done well in an exam or who's just picked up the phone and phoned us and said, you cannot believe the confidence I've experienced this week, it's so easy to rush to my other EMs and say, can I tell you what happened this week? Can I tell you the breakthrough we've had? And that feeling is also great, having that support.
Yeah, I think as much as we have so many roles, it's so rewarding. They're also rewarding in different ways. And ultimately, this is something our managing director always says, are you having fun? And we do have fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And getting into the different roles, I think, a little bit more. I mean, just to start off with something you guys can add, it's obviously assessor, so we're doing these assessments, right? We're having calls with parents even before the assessments just to let them know about what we do and what Genius consists of. We're then obviously doing the diagnostics on the tests and things that the students have written and giving a report to the parents. And as Shan mentioned, a large part of that is designing these lesson programs and these plans for these students. So very much a learner-centered approach. And it's an important part of our role.
And then another role that we have is engaging with the parents and actually letting them know that this is what your child needs and this is why you should do tutoring with us, right?
And then engaging with the tutors as well, because at the end of the day, you are managing a team of tutors that are working with your students. And being able to communicate and relay information to them in such a way that they end up bringing the best out of their students as well.
And I think the ongoing tutor training that we do weekly is really, really helpful for the tutors, but also for us. Because when we are planning those syndicates, we're learning so much, we're creating fun and really beneficial activities that we learn from, but also connect with one another while we're doing it.
Yeah, and we learn from the tutors. I mean, I cannot tell you the amount of times we've planned, obviously, syndicates are our Saturday training sessions with the tutors. So we'll plan out these meetings, we'll sit, we'll have a discussion, and then just the insights you get from meeting with a diverse group of individuals who are like-minded in a lot of ways, but also just have such different perspectives, talents, and strengths, and can share that.
And our tutors are really the best of the best.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Yeah, they go through a rigorous training and vetting program to join this company. How many would we say is the percentage that make it?
So for every 100 tutors that would apply at Genius, we would hire 3. So 3%.
And that's only those who have distinctions, am I right? Isn't it those who've come through the initial phase of the process, I think?
Yeah, so if they're able to apply, which means that they meet the minimum requirements of having a vehicle number 1 and having A's in the track.
Yeah. Especially for the subject that they want to tutor, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's another role that we fill here. We often are involved in the tutor interview process, which is quite exciting. And we're involved in the tutor training and we're involved thereafter in just supporting tutors' growth. So I think overall our role at Genius as an EM, aside from working with parents, students, tutors, each other, is just to support everyone around us. To have an impact, I think, in more ways than one, more ways than we often realize as well. And I think that's what gives the job a sense of purpose for us.
So, Ron, what kind of person would you say would fit the EM role very well?
So, as we mentioned, the EM role is so dynamic. I think we really draw on each other's strengths, but we do find that obviously a big element of being a successful EM is coming from a place of academic excellence. So having achieved a distinction in either maths and English, along with a couple other subjects that you would want to tutor, there is a bit of tutoring involved in becoming an educational manager. And the primary reason for that is because we fulfill the role of a role model to these students. We want them to achieve academic excellence at the end of the day, and I think it's important for us to have, to a certain extent, understood how to get there. So I'd say that's the starting point.
I think another thing would be some sort of not experience but interest in education, in helping students, in relationships. I think that really is beneficial for someone that is wanting to apply.
Because ultimately, we all share think that's one golden thread throughout the whole team. Doesn't matter which kinds of different backgrounds we come from. The golden thread is really this drive to pull out the best out of the students, and really just a passion for their development at the end of the day, and to see them grow and to see them, you know, come home with a smile and look at my test, I got this, and you know, I worked so hard. That's what it's all about.
Definitely, and I think that's why we find those who have the psychology background or the education background often fit better into this type of a role, just because they already have that experience. But as Shan said, if you don't have that experience, but you've always loved tutoring, or you've had some kind of engagement with students, and you just think like, wow, I want to have this impact, I think the job would be suited for you.
Yeah, because we have employees that haven't been in the space before, and they've thrived. They've learned so much, and they've realized, oh, I actually really, really enjoy this. So it's not a necessity, but I think someone who is willing to work on themselves, who is inspired by continual improvement, and someone who is also goal orientated and wanting to do the best they can at all times.
Definitely, and helping our students, I think we automatically help ourselves, and we are a company culture that's focused on self-growth, on life and work harmony, right? Which is this element of trying giving everything your all. And I think you also need to be a great team player. As you can see, we've got a strong culture here, and we enjoy working with our colleagues. It's not a job you can do by yourself by any means. You know, you need the support, and I mean, you'll find us often sitting in the kitchen, having a coffee, just chatting about our experiences of the day. And if you're someone who enjoys that, working with like-minded people and having critical discussions, problem solving, I think is a big element as well. I think you'll thrive here. So obviously, I think hearing how many roles we play and all of the kind of meetings and things that are involved in the EM role, I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, what is the time commitment of being an EM? So Shri, I don't know if you want to guide us on that.
Yeah, so when it comes to being in the office here so we've got an office here in Fourways, and we've got an office in Claremont in Cape Town as well. It's normal office hours, 8 to 5, just as a basic time to spend at the office with the team. But often we work with parents that are working, or we work with students that have sports and stuff after school. So we try to accommodate them as much as possible. So that sometimes means having meetings after 5, just so that they are able to come after school and after sports, so that we can have the assessment with them. Or having a progress review meeting with a parent after they get back home from work, because sometimes the urgent things do come up, and we wouldn't want to do all of them on a Saturday morning, for example. And actually, in saying that, sometimes it is one of the only options is to meet on Saturdays or Sundays, or at the end of the day, it's about meeting the parents and the students where they're at, and really getting down to their level, or meeting them wherever the level is, and making the experience for them also as personalized as possible.
But I think in terms of the time expectations, you have quite a lot of autonomy in how you manage that. If you want to have meetings on weekends, which sometimes is more helpful to you because you've got other things to do in the week, you can manage that.
You're ultimately in charge of your own calendar, and then you get to decide.
And I was going to say also, just energy-wise, I think we are often coming out of these meetings feeling energized, feeling like you've made that difference. And so, quite honestly, I'll finish a day of work, look at the time, and it's 7, and I'm like, how did this happen? You know, because I just had such a great meeting with a parent. So as Shan said, I think this isn't something that's always automatically we have to be there for this hour and that hour. But we naturally tend to choose to do so. I think just seeing the appreciation from the parents is a big thing as well. Parents will come through for an evening assessment and say, you know, wow, thank you for fitting us in. Like, that's incredible. We don't have, you know, companies and things that are often willing to do that. And for us, it's all about the student. If it's going to help the student, then it's worth that.
Yeah, and I think that autonomy also leads into the remuneration structure, because the remuneration, it really can just go beyond what you think you can kind of get.
Okay, so when it comes to the remuneration, I mean, you can really, really make it work for you, and it really does work with you at the end of the day. When you start here at Genius, there's a training process which typically takes anywhere in between 1 and 3 months, just because there are so many different skills to learn and so many things to be exposed to. And within that training process, you do have a minimum remuneration of 6,000 Rand, but it can go anywhere up to 30, depending on how much effort and time you are putting into it and how fast you're also picking it up. But I mean, from the end of the 3rd month, you've in any ways got your basic of 24, which then carries you through. But it's also not a limit. It's not even like, that's almost just the bottom floor. The upper ceiling is, it can be as much as you want it to be at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think because the remuneration structure is not only based on commission, you actually get paid for the things that you do.
Yeah.
So the more assessments that you do, the more that you earn. And the more sales that you do, the more you earn. So I think and the more lessons that students have, the more that you earn. And there's so much innovation that you can bring into the company, that if you have a great idea to enhance and increase the amount of lessons or whatever it is, the sky's your limit, I feel.
Yeah, and then you can get remunerated for a whole lot of different things here as well. I mean, we all have a couple of different niche areas and things that we're really, really passionate about. I mean, for me, I really like the assisted learning space. Shannon is a champion when it comes to little kids. Brownon has been leading the team in terms of homeschooling, and so we also developed the country.
The shade line.
You want me to be the president?
And so we also developed the company together, and we really get to grow into so many different avenues, which then again creates opportunity and an earning potential and just space for teams to grow at the end of the day.
And I think when I first was applying to Genius and thinking about the EM position, a huge concern of mine was the commission, right? Now we've got obviously the basic, it's 24 a month once you pass training, but I think a lot of people are still kind of wondering, why is that the rate, and how do I grow from that? And one thing I do want to kind of clarify there is there's no shortage of demand at Genius. We have more than enough clients, more than enough students, so definitely, you don't have to think, do I have to go find the clients? Do I have to go get the students? Am I in charge of it from that perspective? Not at all. The students are given to you, right? And it's just this element of, as Shannon and Shri have said, doing what you can in the space, saying, okay, I want to focus on meetings. Okay, I want to take the student go-karting this weekend. And kind of developing your niche as much as you can.
I think it's, like you say, it's more of a supply issue. And because so much of our business comes from referrals of happy clients, we are continually getting inquiries for our services.
Because we do our services so well. We do very well.
I mean, take it seriously. I think people can tell the authenticity and the passion from that side. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for other EMs, I think, that bring in that same passion, that same drive, because if you have that, the sky really is your limit here. I think it sounds a little bit cliche, maybe a little too good to be true, even thinking about salary ideas and things, but in my 2nd month here, I was earning more than I was earning as a teacher, actually, at the high school I was working at previously. So yeah, it really is possible, and it's a lot more clear-cut, I think, than people think it is.
Yeah, I think that's why we are called a premium service, or why we identify as a premium service.
Okay. So Shan, how would you go about applying to an EM at Genius?
Okay, it's relatively easy. Of course, like Bronwyn said earlier, we do look for academic excellence. So you would need to have a distinction in either maths or English, and a distinction in the subjects you would like to tutor in that training space, as well as a driver's license. So you can just apply online, submit your matric certificates, and then our admissions department will get hold of you and set up an interview.
And Shan, why is it necessary to have a driver's license in a vehicle?
Because we are always kind of making it easy to see clients. We often go to their homes. A lot of meetings are away from the office. Meetings with professionals are at their practices, as well as if you are tutoring while being an EM, you go for in-person lessons at their home. So it's really imperative.
So Bronwyn, why would you say it's so powerful to have meetings in person as opposed to any of the online options we have these days?
Yeah, I think after COVID, a lot of us learned the difference between in-person meetings versus online meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So although during COVID we were able to continue and have those kinds of online meetings, there's nothing like having, I think, a cup of coffee with a client, sitting face to face, just having a discussion about, okay, what's going right here, what can we work on, what needs to be done. Yeah, I think we mentioned earlier, but with some of our clients, we're going as far as meeting at coffee shops. I've had dinner with a client before, and just having that rapport building moment, yeah, it's indescribable. I think it's very, very different to an online meeting.
Yeah. And that's exactly why our lessons are in person. That's what we specialize in, and we will always recommend in person. So Shreya, why should you join Genius? Why should you apply?
So honestly, if you're looking for a place to grow, academically, professionally, emotionally, if you're looking for a place to gain experience, practical, hands-on experience, and if you're looking for a place filled with lovely people, honestly, the education manager position here at Genius is just one of the best, if not the best option out there. And yeah, I don't think we could have made a better choice.
100%.